I live in Northern California, just outside Sacramento, and I was driving back from my college friend's wedding in a small town up near the Sierra. The reception ended late, and I probably should have stayed overnight, but I had work Monday morning and didn't want to burn a vacation day, so I hit the road around 11, figuring I'd make it home by 3 if the weather held. The weather didn't hold. At the reception, I remember noticing a woman I didn't recognize near the edge of the dance floor. She wasn't dancing, she wasn't talking. She just watched people like she was waiting for someone to make a mistake. When my friend asked if I was staying the night, I laughed and said I'd cut through the back roads to avoid the pass traffic. I didn't think about who might have been close enough to hear. About 2 hours in, the snow turned wet and heavy, more like sleet than flakes, and started coming down hard. The highway was manageable, but when I took a 2-lane back road that cut through the pines to avoid the pass traffic, visibility dropped to maybe 30 feet. My wipers were working overtime. The road was empty, just me and the trees and the white static of falling snow. That's when I saw her. She was standing on the shoulder, arm out, thumb up, classic hitchhiker pose. Her clothes were soaked through, hair plastered to her face, jacket dark with moisture. She'd clearly been out there a while, but she was smiling. That's what I noticed first, standing in a storm at 1 in the morning, drenched to the bone and smiling like she was waiting for a bus on a sunny afternoon. And there was something else. Something that made my stomach tighten before my brain caught up. That smile. I'd seen it 3 hours ago, at the edge of the dance floor. I slowed down. Part of me said keep driving. Part of me thought about how I'd feel if my sister was stranded on a road like this and nobody stopped. I pulled over. She got in fast, bringing the cold with her, and something else. A faint smell like old fabric softener masking something sour. Water dripped from her sleeves onto my passenger seat.
Thank you so much. My car broke down about 2 miles back,
she said, teeth chattering slightly. No problem. Where are you headed? I asked.
Anywhere warm. The next town is fine,
she replied. I turned the heat up and pulled back onto the road. 2 miles back, she'd said. I hadn't seen any broken down car. Maybe it was tucked behind a snowbank or off in a turnout where my lights never hit. Maybe the battery died and her hazards died with it. I didn't say anything.
I'm Melissa,
she offered. Ryan, I replied. She smiled again. That same smile, too calm for the situation. We drove in silence for a few minutes. I noticed her looking around the car, not nervously, just observing. Her eyes moved from the dashboard to the center console to the glove box. Then she reached forward and opened it.
Mind if I grab a napkin? I'm dripping everywhere,
she explained. Sure, go ahead, I said. She pulled out the small pack of tissues I kept in there. But I saw her glance at something else before she closed it. The old family photo I kept tucked in the back. Me, my parents, my sister. In the corner, my mum's handwriting was still visible. Sarah.
Cute photo. Is that your sister?
She asked.
Yeah,
I answered.
She looks like a Sarah,
Melissa said casually. My hands tightened on the wheel. Her name is Sarah. Lucky guess, I managed. Melissa just smiled and dabbed at her sleeves. A few more miles passed. She asked me what I did for work, where I was coming from. Normal small talk. But every few minutes, she'd do something that felt wrong. She knew where the window controls were without looking. She adjusted the seat like she'd done it before. Then my dog's collar jingled from his bed in the back seat. Max, my golden retriever, who'd been sleeping the whole drive. Melissa turned around and her eyes flicked to his collar tag.
Hey Max, good boy,
Melissa said softly. I kept my eyes on the road. How do you know my dog's name? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She paused for just a second.
I heard it in your voice earlier,
she replied.
I didn't.
I drove faster. The next town was only 10 minutes away. I just needed to get there.
This is fine. You can drop me here,
Melissa said suddenly. We were at the edge of town, a gas station on one side, a closed diner on the other. I pulled into the gas station lot.
Thanks for the ride, Ryan. Really?
She said. She got out, closed the door gently, and walked toward the diner without looking back. I watched her disappear around the corner into the darkness. I sat there, hands shaking, then drove home. I didn't stop once. I kept checking my mirrors the whole way. When I finally pulled into my driveway, around 4 in the morning, Max was awake, sitting up in the back seat, staring at the passenger side floor. I reached for my key fob. I'd left it in the little tray by the shifter, but it wasn't there. My stomach dropped. I reached under the passenger seat and felt paper. I pulled it out. A photograph, folded once, clipped to it was my key fob. I unfolded the photo and my stomach dropped. It was my house, my kitchen window, shot from outside, looking in. Through the glass I could see myself standing at the sink, doing dishes. I turned it over, written in neat handwriting, a date from 4 months ago, the same month as the wedding invite had hit my mailbox. The same month I'd started noticing a car that wasn't mine at the end of my street, and telling myself I was being paranoid. I looked up at my house. The kitchen light was off, the street was empty. Max started growling. I live in upstate New York, and my father has diabetes. He lives alone on a small farm about 2 hours outside the city, the same property he's worked since before I was born. Most weeks I don't think about it much. He manages fine on his own, but every few months his insulin supply runs low, and I make the drive out to bring him more. The pharmacy near him closed years ago, so it's easier for me to pick it up in town and drop it off. It was a Friday night in early February. I'd grabbed the insulin after work and headed out around 8. The snow started maybe 40 minutes into the drive. Light at first, then heavier. By the time I hit the darker 2-lane roads that cut past the foothills and open fields, my headlights were barely cutting through. That's when I saw them. A car pulled over on the shoulder, hazard lights blinking orange through the white. A man standing outside, waving me down. A woman sitting in the passenger seat, not moving. I slowed and pulled up behind them. The man walked over to my window. He was maybe 45. Heavy coat, work boots, normal looking.
"Battery's dead. You got jumper cables?"
He asked. "Yeah, in the trunk," I answered. I got out and grabbed the cables. As I walked toward his car, my headlights lit up the back of his vehicle. The license plate was caked with mud, not splattered, caked, like someone had smeared it on thick, covering every letter and number. I told myself it was just road grime. Conditions were bad. I walked to the front of his car, and that's when I got a clear look at the woman in the passenger seat. She was young, maybe mid-20s, blonde hair. She wasn't looking at me. She was staring straight ahead at the dashboard. My headlights caught her face clearly. There were dried tear tracks on her cheeks, frozen, like she'd been crying hours ago, and the tears had just stayed there, crystallized by the cold. The inside of the car looked unheated, glass fogged at the edges, frost clinging around the corners. But she wasn't crying now. She wasn't doing anything, just sitting there, perfectly still. "Ma'am, you okay?" I called out. She didn't respond, didn't even turn her head. The man stepped between me and his car.
"She's fine, just tired. Long drive,"
he said quickly. I nodded, but something felt wrong. I looked at the woman again. This time she turned her head slightly. Her eyes met mine through the windshield. Then the woman's lips moved, no sound, just her mouth forming a single word. "Go," she mouthed. The man turned to look at her, then back at me. His hand moved toward his coat pocket, and I heard a small, hard click metal against something. I dropped the jumper cables and ran. I was in my car before I could think. Engine on, reverse, tires spinning on ice. I saw him in my rearview mirror, standing in the road, watching me drive away. He didn't chase, just watched. I drove for 15 minutes before I got a cell signal. I called 911 with shaking hands and told them everything. The car, the man, the woman, the location. They said they'd send someone and asked me to meet an officer at a gas station up ahead. 2 deputies met me there. They took my statement, asked me to describe everything. Then we drove back together in their cruiser. The snow had gotten worse, and a plow had already been through once. Fresh drifts pushed up onto the shoulder. Wind had scrubbed the road smooth. The spot was empty. No car, no tire tracks. The snow had covered everything. The deputies searched the area with flashlights. Nothing. They told me they'd file a report, keep an eye out. But I could tell they weren't sure what to make of it. For the next 3 days, I checked the local news obsessively. On the 3rd day, I found it. A body discovered in the woods 12 miles from where I'd stopped. A woman, mid-20s, blonde hair, identified as a kidnapping victim who'd been missing for 9 days. They showed her photo on the news. It was her, the same frozen tear tracks, the same eyes. I haven't slept right since. Every night I see her face through that windshield. Every night, I watch her lips move behind that glass. One word, no sound. Go. She told me to run. She saved my life, and I left her there. I live in Oregon, and I spent a weekend at a cabin in the mountains with some friends from work up past the Pine Line. The kind of place where the roads are quiet and your phone turns into a paperweight. Everyone else decided to stay an extra day, but I had a Monday meeting I couldn't miss, so I packed up Sunday afternoon and hit the road. Benny, my black lab, was riding shotgun. He'd been restless all weekend, barking at nothing, pacing around the cabin at night. I figured he just didn't like the unfamiliar environment. He's usually the calmest dog you'd ever meet. About an hour into the drive, the snow started. Light at first, then heavier. The road I was on cut through a national forest. No houses, no cell towers, just trees on both sides for miles. That's when I saw the first car. An SUV, pulled off onto the shoulder, doors hanging open, no one inside. I slowed as I passed, long enough to see the windshield fogged like it had been warm not that long ago. Then just around a bend, I saw the second one. A sedan this time, front end angled into a ditch. Driver's door open, and on the seat I only saw it for a second as I passed, a dark stain that might have been blood. Benny started whimpering. I checked my phone, SOS only, no signal. Then I noticed the notification I'd missed earlier, a regional alert, increased reports of missing persons and vehicle incidents in this area, exercise caution. I pressed the gas a little harder. That's when my tire blew. The car lurched right. I gripped the wheel and managed to pull onto the shoulder without spinning out. Benny started barking, sharp, urgent, pressed against the window, staring into the trees. I didn't like being outside in this weather. I cracked my door, leaned out, and looked down at the tire. It wasn't just flat. There was something embedded in it. A nail, a big one, the kind you'd see on a construction site. Then I heard it. A dog barking, from somewhere in the woods. Then another sound, a horse maybe, whinnying, then howling, wolf or coyote, I couldn't tell, but the sounds were wrong, too clean, too loud, and they were coming from different directions at once. I stood there listening, and that's when I noticed it. The wolf howl repeated, exactly the same. Same pitch, same duration, same fade at the end. Then it repeated again, identical. That wasn't an animal, that was a recording. Benny went silent. He stopped barking and just stared at the tree line, ears flat against his head. Then all the sounds stopped at once. Complete silence. I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, crunching through the snow, coming from the trees to my left. Then more footsteps. From the right, I couldn't see anyone, just shadows between the trunks. I got fully back in the car, slammed the door and hit the locks. Benny was shaking in the passenger seat, trying to crawl into my lap. I turned the key and put it in drive. The tire screamed against the asphalt, metal on road, sparks flying up in my mirrors. I didn't care. I drove, 30 miles an hour on a shredded rim, the whole car shuddering. In my mirrors I saw shapes emerge from the trees onto the road. 3 of them, maybe 4, just standing there watching me go. A couple miles later, I saw lights. A gas station, old, small, a single pump, but the lights were on. I pulled in and practically fell out of the car. An old man came out of the office. Behind him, a Rottweiler, massive, maybe 100 pounds, watching me with calm, steady eyes. No fear, just focus.
Tire trouble?
The old man asked, looking at my destroyed rim. Someone put a nail in it, in the middle of nowhere. And there were sounds, recordings, I think, and people in the trees. I blurted out. The old man's expression didn't change. He just nodded slowly.
You're lucky you got back in fast,
he said quietly. He knelt down to examine the wheel. His dog Bruno, I learned later, sat beside him, eyes scanning the dark road behind me. This has happened before, I asked.
There was a family,
he said, still working.
2 weeks ago, their SUV got found on that stretch. Empty, doors open, no sign of them.
My mouth went dry.
And another one,
he added.
A man, alone, about 10 days ago.
Did they find him?
I asked.
They found his body,
he said.
In the woods about a quarter mile from his car, naked. Coroner said he'd been out there for days.
I leaned against my car, legs weak. Why do you stay here? I asked. He glanced at Bruno.
They don't come near when Bruno's around,
he said.
They tried once, never tried again.
He finished mounting the spare and stood up slowly.
That sedan you probably passed, the one in the ditch.
He said.
That was the man's car. I nodded.
I remembered the dark stain on the seat.
It was about a quarter mile behind where you stopped.
He added. I felt the blood drain from my face. A quarter mile. That's how far the man made it before they got to him. My tire blew a quarter mile past his car. I drove home in silence. Benny pressed his head against my leg the whole way. I keep thinking about those shapes in my mirror, standing on the road, watching me drive away. I keep thinking about that sedan, the open door, the stain on the seat, and I keep thinking about how close a quarter mile really is. Snow doesn't just hide the road. Sometimes it hides who's already out there. So tell me, if you saw them on the shoulder tonight, would you stop? If you want more realistic night drive horror, like the video and subscribe. And drop a comment. What's the creepiest thing you've seen on the road at night?